I'm a ruling elder, and I'm a lay pastor, and I'm part of the pulpit supply for New Hope Presbytery. And that gives me an opportunity every single Sunday for the last 2 years. I have preached in a different church. I have not been back to my church, my home church, but 2 times in 2 years because I'm preaching someplace in the presbytery. I served as the president for NBPC Mid-Atlantic for I think like a term and a half before I went to Ghana. And of course, I spent 2 years in Ghana, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what happened. I'm going to tell you the end of my story first. I thought I was going to Ghana to be a teacher. Instead, I went to Ghana to become a student. And that's the end of my story. Now, let me fill in some stuff that happened. I was teaching Sunday school at First Presbyterian Church in Rocky Mount, and the subject was how does God use the Holy Spirit in the church today? And I was just really teaching because I had prepared for that lesson. And the Holy Spirit said to me, it's time for you to go. And I heard it, but I didn't pay any attention to it because I was so busy about trying to get my message across. So about 10 minutes later, the Holy Spirit said to me again, he said, John, it's time for you to go to Africa. And it just floored me. And I was no good for the rest of the Sunday school. So I went into worship, and I don't remember anything that went on during worship because my mind was just rolling. And the closing hymn was, Here I am, Lord. You know, who will go? You know, I'll go if you lead me. And I just broke down, and I left the church and went home. Well, 9 o'clock Monday morning, I was on the phone talking with the World Mission Agency. And after about 2 years of talking, we started the process. It took about 16 months to do all the paperwork in order for me to go. November the 19th, 2019, I landed in Ghana. Now, it was 32 degrees when I left Raleigh, North Carolina. And when I walked out of the terminal at 11:30 in the morning, it was 98 degrees. And when I felt all of that hot air, honestly, I lost it. And I won't tell you all the words I used, but I did not use some pleasant words. I said, I can't take this. There's no way I can live like this. So I went over in a corner and I started praying because I was waiting for the pastor that was coming to pick me up. And the Holy Spirit said to me, John, you have used Psalms 23 with so many people. And I want you to understand that that still applies to you, that God is your shepherd and that God is going to protect you and that you're here for a reason. And it said, even though you are walking in an area that you are not comfortable with, please be obedient and do the work that you have been sent here to do. And I tell you that your socks are going to be knocked off of your feet by the time you finish this because it's really going to be rewarding for you. Well, I didn't quite understand it because of the fact that there was such a difference in the customs and culture of me and the Canadians. But God did not waste any time training me and getting me in the position to do the work. And so I was invited to a family to eat with them, and we had fufu and okra soup. Now, if you don't know what fufu is, it's something that's made with cassava and plantain, and it's cooked and they pulverize it and make it into a ball. And then you pinch it and dip it in the soup and you eat it. And they started eating, and I'm sitting there watching them. And I'm saying, there's no way I'm going to stick my hand in that soup. And they said, well, are you okay? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to need a spoon to eat my soup. And they looked at me real funny. And then I realized, it was like I was insulting them. But I got through that. Then on Saturday afternoon, I went to a funeral. It was a pastor that had passed. He was a well-known Presbyterian pastor. He died in May, and his funeral wasn't until November the 20th. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I'm going to go and look at a man that's been dead that long and not put away. I went and I was okay by that. Then on Sunday, I had the opportunity of worshiping. I worshiped in a church that had 4,500 members, and they had 4 services every Sunday. So when it was time to take up the offering, I usually keep money in my left pocket, and I went in my pocket to put the money on the table, and someone behind me said, no, use your right hand. And I'm thinking, how crazy is that? What's the difference between the right and left hand? So after service, I asked, why did you have me to use my right hand? And so they explained to me, in Africa, the left hand is used for wiping and cleaning oneself. And it would be impolite for you to extend your left hand to shake someone's hand or give them something. And so you use your right hand. And so it was things like that. But working, and I'm going to try to cut this a little bit short, but working in the church, I was assigned to work with the seniors. Our service started at 7 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we worshiped for 2 hours. And in working with them, some of the things that I did was that I would preach once a month. I started a Bible study with the seniors, and once a month, I would have someone to come in, like a doctor, lawyer, teacher, dietitian, to come in and speak to the group. Then at 9 o'clock, I would go over and work with, not work, but worship with the children. And friends, to see 300 children worshiping together, so well-mannered. And there were 1 or 2 kids kind of running around, but they took their worship so serious. And I laugh about it now, but I cannot see myself getting up dancing to drum music. But as I worked with them, I started dancing in the aisle, running up and down. It was so unlike me, but it was because they were my family, and I had to become a part of their life. And see, and that's where I thought I was going to teach them how to really do the electric slide, but they started teaching me how to do their dance, and that was really wonderful. The thing that really amazed me is that there was a little boy. He couldn't have been any more than 10 years old. He led the morning prayer, and he prayed and prayed and prayed. And I figured when he finished, he prayed 20 minutes without the aid of any notes. He just stood up there and he just talked and talked and talked. And I thought that was just so amazing. Where my lesson came in is that I began to learn that, hey, these people are different, but they are so much more advanced than us in relationships. And what happened was that the president of the bank that I had to come in and talk to the seniors, the first time I met him, I walked into his office, and this gentleman had on a t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and sandals. And I'm thinking to myself, what on earth is this? What kind of a president would dress like that? But in Africa, everybody dressed the same. You cannot determine who's rich or who's poor by the way they dress. The only people that dress in suit and ties are government officials, and you pretty much know that. The president lived in a house that was probably worth $1 million. But next door to him, that was right next to his house, was just an old rundown shack. But in Africa, and I'll say in Ghana, because I can only speak for what I saw, is that they don't look at you by who you are. They love one another. They have the utmost respect for regardless of who you are. All of the children going to school wear uniforms. And I learned that one of the reasons they do that is that if there is a very wealthy family who could afford Gucci and Ferragamo and those kind of things, they can't wear those things to school. Everybody is dressed the same. So there's no big and small people. All the girls shave their heads for the same reason, so that there's no way to say, well, my hair is better than yours. So everybody starts off on the same level. Children, well, not children, but everyone respects the person older than them. And on Saturday mornings, I would go to the market, and I'd have my 2 bags that I'm carrying. And the children would just come and take them from me and carry them with me to my house. And when we got there, I'd go in my pocket, because, you know, in America, everybody needs to be tipped for what they do for it. But they said, oh, no, we can't take any money for doing that. That our parents would be really upset with us if we took money because we help you, because that's just who we are. Now, in my living conditions, I lived in a house that had a living room, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a half bath. And I say half bath because I did not have a sink, so I had to get a little plastic tub to wash in. I did not have a hot water heater. So if I wanted to take a hot shower, I would fill up plastic bottles and sit them in the sun. And when I came in the evening, I'd lather myself down and then pour the bottles of water over me, and that was it. I did have, as I said, a shower and had a commode. I slept under a mosquito net because the mosquitoes were very bad there. And I had a ceiling fan in the bedroom. The first 6 months I was there, I did not have any contact with the outside world until I got internet service. And if I wanted to use my computer, I would have to walk 2 miles to the internet store, and I'd buy time and I could do emails and things like that. I did my own washing. I had to wash by hand. I would hang them up on the line. I would fold my clothes after taking them off because I didn't have an iron. And so what is that called? Rough dry? I did rough dry for 2 years. Now, and I'll tell you one other quick thing, because this is the thing that really caused me to change my whole mind about Africans. I was asked to go with a pastor to go and look at a member's house, and we were going to do some renovations. Well, the house was about 15 miles outside of the city, so it was in a village. When we got there, I was asking, where's the house? And the pastor said, no, we need to go and sit under the shelter. Well, in Africa, all families live together. It might be a half acre, it might be 20 acres, but everybody in that family lives within, I call it the compound, and they live. And there is a shelter that's built in the middle of it, and all the families bring food in, and they come together, and they sit, and they eat, and they get to know who their family members are. So we sat there, and this elderly lady came out. She was kind of the head honcho for the community of family. And her job was to help resolve any problems that might exist. And her word was the last word. She could not speak English, so she spoke what is called Iwi. And she and the pastor talked, and they talked about an hour and a half. And I'm thinking to myself, why on earth are we wasting all this time with them just talking? I came to do some work on the house. So after about 2 hours of talking, we went and looked at the house. We were there maybe 15, 20 minutes, and we took all the measurements. And I was heading back to the car, and he said, no, we need to go back under the shelter. And we did. And after about 15 minutes of talking, the lady told another lady to go in the house and get some water. And so they gave us a bottle of water, and which was very refreshing after those couple of hours. And they talked some more, and then they left, or we left. And I'm thinking to myself, now I've got to find out, why did we waste all that time just talking? And so I said, well, explain to me what happened. And he said, well, several things happened. He said, in Africa, families live together in one area. And there is one person who is considered the head person. When you visit someone in Africa that's not a member of your family, you first must talk about your family, and you have to let them talk about their family. It might take 15 minutes, or it might take an hour, or it might take 2 hours. But when you go to visit someone, you have to be willing to take whatever time it takes for the two of you to talk about family. And when you come to a person's house, you do not discuss business before you talk about the family. And she said, or he said, and when she gave us water, that was her way of saying, I appreciate your coming, I approve of your coming, and you're welcome to come back again. And it hit me. I said, now I understand what this trip was all about. I could have gone to a session, I could have looked at a movie, I could have read a book, but the things that I learned in my time there are things that you cannot learn by reading. They're things that you have to experience. And so that's what I experienced. I experienced that we need to spend more time getting to know people, even people that we don't particularly like. We don't have to agree with their politics, and we don't have to agree with the way they think, but we have to learn to love people. And that's what my mission is now. And that's what I do when I go into the churches, and all of the churches that I go into, well, except one, are small white country churches that I have been received very, very well. And they look forward to me coming back. But what I'm doing, God is telling me to help these people to understand that we're all the same, even though we're different. And so that's my story. And I'm sticking with it, and I'm not going to change it. All right.